Anyone visiting Parliament Hill over the past few years will have noticed all the renovations going on here. And if you thought this was coming to an end anytime soon, well, it's only just the beginning. This building, known as Centre Block, will be off limits for at least a decade. Meanwhile, MPs will be moved here, to this building known as West Block. Since 2011, workers have been preparing West Block for its new role as the centerpiece of government. The West Block is one of the 3 original buildings on Parliament Hill. Construction started in the 1860s and was completed in 1906. More than a century later, the need to rehabilitate the Centre Block left the House of Commons without a place to sit. The West Block proved to be the best way to keep Parliament on the hill while Centre Block is being renovated.
Pretty much all of the House of Commons functions that exist today in the Centre Block are being transferred over. And that does include the whip's offices, the Sergeant at Arms, the Speaker, etc.
There will also be 4 committee rooms right underneath the floor of the House. This 12-meter deep underground expansion has increased the available space by 50%. Some 44,000 cubic meters of rock and soil had to be removed to make space for these essential rooms for the parliamentary process. However, it's not what is added underground that will be the key feature of the temporary House of Commons.
I think the real pièce de résistance here is the House of Commons chamber. Coming into that chamber once it's completed and seeing the expanse of the space, first of all, and how well lit it's going to be with some natural light, and the fact that the design is quite spectacular as well.
The choice of a transparent glass roof over the interim House of Commons was inspired by other parliamentary buildings that are now covered with a glass dome, like the Flemish Parliament in Brussels and the Reichstag in Berlin.
The number of steel columns that have been installed now, which are going to be supporting the new glass roof for the chamber. The design for these columns and the branches coming off of these columns were taken from its design cue from the Neo-Gothic, and the Neo-Gothic takes its design cues from nature.
Creating a glass roof over a courtyard is technically challenging. The age of the West Block, as well as its heritage building status, meant that the weight of the roof could not rest on the building itself. Steel beams will support both the roof and the galleries overlooking the House of Commons. Once this solution was found, the architect still had other problems to solve.
This great big area allowed us to create what we call a buffer zone, right? That would help us deal with either heat gain in summer from all the sun shining down on the roof, or heat loss in the winter when it's really cold outside. There needs to be a real control on the quality and the quantity of light throughout the time that the debates are televised.
Direct streaks of sunlight have to be avoided during the debates, and to keep a stable level of lighting, natural and artificial light have to be blended seamlessly. Noise control and acoustics were also challenging. The problem will be partly solved by the roof's buffer zone, as well as all the elements that will be installed in the chamber. Aside from creating new space and modernizing for security and connectivity, the West Block rehabilitation is also the most important masonry project currently underway in North America and perhaps in the entire world.
We had a fair amount of deterioration that had occurred over time. This is caused by water infiltrating the walls.
We have cleaned every stone at the West Block, which equates to about 140,000 square feet of face materials being cleaned.
It is hard to imagine the scale of this project because so much of it is happening on the inside and underground. In fact, there is a totally new construction on Parliament Hill. A visitors center is being built between the West and the Centre Block, but it won't be visible above ground. The building will also serve as a screening facility where all visitors will go through security before entering the Parliament buildings.
The Visitor Welcome Center is really seen as a transitional building, a building where people are moving through to their destinations, but this is the space that they will occupy for the most time that they're in the building.
By the fall of 2018, Centre Block will be empty and all of its occupants will have been relocated. For MPs, that will mean moving to West Block. But for senators, that will mean moving to this building. The former Ottawa Union Station and most recently Government Conference Centre will become the new home of the Senate. The two houses of Parliament won't sit under the same roof for at least a decade.